I gotta go with Matt Carpenter because that was just like out of left field. Seth Lugo, I think we all kind of knew. All right, the Padres are gonna be in on this guy, whether it be for a starter or a long reliever role, the same way Nick Martinez was last year. But Matt Carpenter, I was kind of stunned, in a way that hmm, I don't really know if I like it or not. I mean, he had a good year last year in New York. I mean, granted, right field is very tiny in New York. Not only that, he might have benefited from being given the, I guess you could say, juice balls that were given for Aaron Judge's journey to 62. Um, he might have benefited from those baseballs. So I don't really know how to feel about Matt Carpenter, but luckily the corner of right field isn't very big in Petco either. So hopefully he's able to hit a few bombs there. I think he was expected to hit 15 over there also. Maybe the shift ban will also help him, but that was definitely one that I feel he shouldn't be our permanent DH. There's got to be someone on the free agent market that they feel better about putting in there at DH, right? Um, just because this was kind of like the first pop off we saw out of Matt Carpenter in a little while, and he doesn't really hit. I mean, obviously he was hitting last year, and yeah, I know he reworked his swing, but really, how much of it were those juice baseballs? Because they got way more than any other team. How much of it was Yankee Stadium? There's a lot of things that factor into why I might like Matt Carpenter for those home runs, for his reworked swing, for his commitment to going with the times, trying to get more launch angle, just trying to change the swing in general. But there's also a little bit of hesitancy knowing, was that just like a solid 1 or 2 month stint? Because a lot of that production came in a very short amount of time. A lot of it, like a ton. And then after that, it was very, very, very bleak. So Matt Carpenter was definitely somewhat of a surprise in the sense that he's kind of a controversial signing because he's old, but everyone's going to look at his stats in those 1 or 2 months and be excited. Rightfully so. I mean, we don't know that. Most people don't know that came in those 1 or 2 months.
Yeah, and you guys saw, if you saw where I popped up my screen right there, if you look at his recent seasons, he was terrible before last season.
Yeah.
And he hit under 200 in both 2021 and 2020. Granted, 2020 is a small season, but then in 2019 he barely hit over he hit 226 with a 726 OPS. So he hasn't really put up a full good season since 2018. Now, you bring up 2018, kind of, what is it, 2013 through 2018, those 6 seasons. He was a beast. He was an absolute beast on the Cardinals. He was really good. And then he has this 3-4 years where he's not that good. Last year, he doesn't even play in 50 games, has a little over 150 plate appearances, doesn't really play that much. But we saw how hot he was in the in that, what is it? Was it like that May kind of stretch, May, June kind of
It
stretch
was like June,
where,
July, yeah.
yeah, like a lot of Yankees fans were super pumped, like they're just looking at like, dude, this guy is going off. Who would have expected Matt Carpenter to be one of the Yankees like best offensive players? And he balled out. But then he gets hurt. He broke his foot, comes back, and in the playoffs he was absolutely atrocious. I don't know how much of
Mhm.
the Yankees you're watching, but I was watching with one of my buddies who is a Yankees fan. We watched a couple games, and dude, he was
It was
bad, bro. He
bad.
looked
Yeah, it was bad.
completely lost at the plate. And you can chalk that up to, having your timing off, missing a lot of time. And you see that with a lot of guys when they end up being out for a while. But it is a little bit concerning when you look at it. And I get the reasoning. The reasoning is he's a lefty. They wanted to go get a lefty. That's pretty clear. But at the same time, it's like Brandon Drury, like, people really wanted Brandon Drury back. You pass up on Josh
Yeah.
Bell. You pass up on, a guy like Luke Voigt, who was better than Brandon Drury was, or pretty much the same, and he was like slumping like 3/4 of the time he was in San Diego, and he still put up like roughly the same numbers as Brandon Drury did in San Diego. And these guys are all righties, but they go with Matt Carpenter, who has been very down in recent years outside of a small hot stretch this past season. And it's kind of a boom bust move. And the only reason why I was kind of like, oh, like, is this going to hurt the Padres? Is because they signed Matt Carpenter and then Drury signs the next day for like $1 million more. It's basically the same deal. So if I'm looking at it as like a Matt Carpenter versus Brandon Drury kind of conversation, I guess you go with Carpenter because it's the lefty, but it's like, is he going to be good? Because like, would you be surprised if he just goes back to how he was like for the past few years? I wouldn't. Now,
No,
of course, I
not at
don't want him
all.
to be like that, but
Mm-mm.
it's hard to see if the stuff about him, working with his swing and adjusting it. Like I think I think it was Kyle in the chat said, yeah, he said he worked with his swing with Votto, he'll be fine. If that is the case and he's fine, then it's gonna work out. It's gonna be a good sign. But if he doesn't, he looks really bad and just kind of a wash piece. It's not like it's the end of the world either. Like it's a swing and a miss. It was like $7 million. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't a crazy deal or anything. And
Mhm.
it's more of like a platoon piece, and someone will probably emerge. But it's just kind of like, oh, you lost Brandon Drury. You could have had Brandon Drury. And I think that's really the only argument with it. I do think it makes sense. Czar says, need that lefty. I see that. Yeah, I definitely get it. Another thing too is Carpenter does walk a lot. That's what Kyle's saying. Um, yeah, I mean, you look for his 12-year career, he's a 370 on base percentage guy. And that's going to be really good in the bottom of that order for the Padres, especially when you look at this top four. That's that insane. So you guys are kind of talking me into it even a little bit, just with the kind of having the case for the lefty and also getting on base at a 370 clip. If he can get on base 350, that's a good deal. Would you
Oh
say?
yeah. Yeah, definitely. 350, that's pretty high. I mean, if he's gonna be batting fifth or sixth, yeah, I'll take 350 plus. I mean, I'm not asking for too much. A 750 OPS plus would do. I would be happy with that, considering the fifth or sixth spot was consistently filled last year with maybe around 750. I mean, Jake, I don't know what Jake's OPS was, but I don't think it was. I think it was hovering around 750.
Like probably finished like 740, 730, something like that, I would
Yeah,
guess.
something like that. Ha-seong Kim was around like 721. So 750, I'll be pretty happy. But definitely a little bit of a controversial signing. A lot of people will say, well, this guy's old and this was his first good season in a long time. And maybe it wasn't even a good season. Maybe it was just a good couple months. Or people will look at it as he changed his swing and he's committed to. I mean, he's kind of, you see it. He's committed to winning. That's why I like that. I mean, that's the one thing I really like about him is that he really emphasized, I didn't come here because it's San Diego or because of the weather. I came here because I want to win. That was pretty awesome.